Howdy everybody, welcome back to my channel Passion Theory, where I share with you some of my passions. Where have I been? Well, I was sick. As you can see, I'm feeling a lot better. I look a lot better. But right as I was getting over being sick, I got horrible tooth pain and couldn't talk, couldn't function, couldn't really eat anything or drink even, because every time I drink something, if it touched that tooth, it would like freak out. Like just even cold water, like I could drink room temperature water and that's like it, and room temperature broth. So I went into the emergency dentist and they told me that basically I need a root canal done. And so I've been on pain meds and antibiotics up until the time that my procedure takes place. And it has finally worked enough. The antibiotics are doing their stuff and kind of killing off the infection and stuff like that. So that way I'm not in pain anymore. I'm still in a little bit of pain, but not I can talk now and I can eat. So yeah. Yeah, and I had already had like scheduled for that to become like to get that taken care of, the tooth. We already knew about it and I was already actively getting a filling soon, but it just, the cavity inside, the infection inside the tooth just progressed to the point where it hit the nerve. And once it hits the nerve, pretty much the only thing you can really do is a root canal. So, but yeah, and it's just because right now with, there's a lot of, especially in medical fields like dentistry and stuff, after COVID happened, they're really short staffed. So like things are getting booked out 2-3 months in advance, like out from the time you see them. So my filling was supposed to happen in December, towards the beginning of December. Like I was supposed to get all my cavities done, but yeah, and stuff. So that's why I haven't been here. But it's getting taken care of sooner now. But I still have to wait till November, like mid-November, to get the root canal. But that's okay, because I have to take all these antibiotics up until the time, so that way there's no infection when they do the actual procedure. Anyway, so I can talk now. So that means we can tell spooky stories, because spooky story season's almost over. And after this, I probably won't tell any more spooky stories until next spooky season, and I will have more because I'm like, oh no, I've only gotten up to the White House. Granted, these are probably like some of the spookiest that I personally have, some of them. I do have some other, really spooky ones, but that we'll get to next year, I guess. So, spooky stories. The White House. So, my parents, remember I was talking about last time that little like RV trailer that we lived in? My parents took that and parked it on my dad's brother, my uncle's property. And my parents lived in there. That was like their bedroom. And because there was only so many bedrooms in the house. And my uncle had bought like this big 2-story house. Like 2.5 stories, because it was like a bottom floor which had the living room and the kitchen. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. It was like the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. And then there was like a half floor up, and then there was an office, and like just kind of like an open area where they kept books and things like that. And my aunt did sewing projects on the floor there. It was just like a flat floor type of a space, and then more stairs, and then there was a big bedroom which turned into my bedroom, and then there was a large attic. Now there's my bedroom on one side, a bathroom. There was also a bathroom downstairs as well. It had two bathrooms. So on the top floor was the big bedroom, huge bedroom, bigger than the master bedroom. Like, I remember it being, maybe it was the same size as the master. I think it was just, it looked bigger because it had white walls, and my aunt and uncle's master bedroom, which was also up there, had like dark wood paneling, so it looked smaller, but I think they were the same size. So there was my big bedroom, and then there was a bathroom, and then there was like a little hall space with more bookshelves and stuff, and then there was my aunt and uncle's master bedroom, and then on the other side of that, like over the big garage, was an attic, and in the attic there was a teeny tiny room. Teeny tiny room. I mean, it was probably 6 by 8 feet, something like that. It was tiny, like enough to throw down like it held like this a super small like bed that was just like a mattress on the floor, and then like a table, and that was pretty much it. And that became my brother's room. And at the time I didn't understand like that how ridiculous that was, because they could have transformed like my bedroom, they could have split it in half and like put up a divider, and there was all sorts of things they could have done for my brother. But my brother wanted the attic room because he didn't want me in it, and my uncle and aunt, because my brother's my half brother, my uncle made it very clear that I didn't know at the time, but he made it very clear that he did not consider my brother his blood relative, because he wasn't my father's blood, even though my father adopted him. So we share the same mom, but not the same dad. And so they put him in the little attic room. Now, this house was in Oregon, and it was up in Blue River. You can look it up. It's just like this little town that's like kind of up in the like mountainy area, and behind the house was a big mountain that the logging company had control of, but they gave us the keys because they had an easement through the yard to they were allowed to use our driveway to get up into the mountain. But they gave us the keys, and we could go walk the dogs up there and go up trips in the mountain and stuff. That was fun. Never had any weird stuff happen up in the mountains. But yeah, I spent like my childhood running around in the woods all over this mountain, and probably shouldn't have, because there was bobcats and stuff, and they usually thought I was in the yard when I was doing this. But I took the dogs with me, which was like a German Shepherd and a Husky. At the time, it was just the Husky though. They didn't get the German Shepherd until they moved from this house. But anyway, so yeah, but it had a big, huge yard. It had like it had a place where they had some kind of animals, sheeps or pigs or something. There was like a barn, and there was some kind of like animal chute thing, and something that kind of like a feeding trough and things like that. And there was like a place where the animals, like you could chase an animal into it, and then it would be held there to like work on its feet or give it shots or brand it or whatever. There was like one of those things, and we would play all over it. And there was also like an old wood burning stove in the front yard of the thing that was like kind of like a barbecue thing. It was made of brick. And we put up a swing in one of the trees that looked like it had marks, like there had been a swing there before. And just a huge, huge yard. And there was wild strawberries in that yard, so that was fun. But yeah. So it was a beautiful house. I'm obsessed with this house. Like it's almost like my dream house. Like I want that house still. Even as creepy as it was, I have this like obsession with this house. And during the we had a bunch of wildfires that swept through that area, and I actually looked it up on the map, and the wildfires like went around the house, which I thought was really weird. It like literally stopped almost at the property line. It was crazy. Uh, like not quite. It was like a few houses down, but yeah. This house when we moved in was over 100 years old. And it had been, at one point, it had been a what's it called? Fire department. I couldn't think of, I was like fire, the thing where the fire people live. It'd been a fire department like headquarters. And that's why it had a really big garage. And also in the garage there was like there were stairs that went up to the basement that was above the not the basement, the attic that was above the garage. And then there was like not a basement, but there was like a little room that was kind of like you take a little couple steps down, and then there was like a little like washer and dryer, old school farm sink type room that we just called the washroom. And I think there was a pantry in there too, like storage pantry. But so the garage was so big because they used to put the fire trucks in and out and stuff. And then there was like one of those old school like dinner ringy bells on the front that was original to the house. And at one point the house had intercoms in every room, so that way, you know, they could like press it and be like, hey, you know, there's a fire, da da da, and then they would all get together. And there was no more intercoms in the house, but there were holes in the wall, and there was like panels that were like wood panels that were screwed in over these holes. And up in the attic where the intercom system was, there was a big hole in the attic. Like, just, it looked like it was just, and it was like a circle. It looked like someone took like a chainsaw and did a circle into the wall, and you could crawl into the walls of the house. And the wall, like, you could go all through the house, almost like secret passages. And like, if those panels weren't there, you could use them to look into all the different rooms. But it was because that's where the intercom system had been. But the holes in the walls were like 2 feet at least, like enough for kids to crawl around in them, because, you know, I never did because I was terrified of them, but I looked in there a few times and I knew I could. So that's like the background on this house. As far as I know, no one was ever killed in the house. As far as I know, no one ever died in the house. I just know it used to be like a farm and a fire department. So I don't know why it was so haunted. I don't know why the haunting was so malicious in nature. But here's some things that would happen. The first thing is that the attic, always, every time you were in the attic, it was darker than it should be. There were windows in the attic, but it was like the light would only travel like a foot in and then just die. So even in the bright daylight, all the other rooms in the house, same side of the house, less windows even, like the bathroom and stuff, all would be brightly lit, but that attic would be almost pitch black, and you would have to like take flashlights and stuff. And I thought that was really weird as a kid. Let me just get, there we go. I found, oh no, I bumped the thing. Hang on. So there was that. The attic would also have just this, every time you entered the attic or got near the attic or touched the attic, the stairs in the garage going up to the attic, it felt like something wanted to kill you. The stairs that led up to the attic felt like like you always felt like you were about to be pushed. Like you were just waiting for it to happen. They freaked me out to no end. And every time I walked up those stairs like on all fours, so I couldn't get pushed down, so I could like grab on. I never did get pushed, but it always felt like something was about to push you. But that's where my brother's room was. And my aunt and uncle's room, the master bedroom, that was shared a wall with the attic and had a door leading to the attic. Because sometimes I'd go visit my brother, and I would go out of my room, through the little hallway, through my aunt and uncle's room, and then through that door into the attic. And then it was only like from their door to the attic to my brother's bedroom door, it was only like 3 feet. But their bedroom was fine, didn't bother me at all. That 3 feet, I would bolt, like just bolt across that attic. And my brother's room, though, always felt like the most peaceful, calm, safe part of the house. And I didn't know this at the time, but I've explained in previous things that my grandmother taught my brother traditional indigenous culture. and he was smudging the room, he was burning cedar, he was burning sweetgrass, he was doing all this kind of stuff in the room to keep it a safe space because he felt like there was something in this house too. So, my personal experiences in the house besides that, the attic. Oh, more things about the attic. I wasn't the only one to notice this. We all noticed these things about the attic, that it was super dark all the time. Also, it would randomly just, one day there would be nothing in the attic, and then the next day there'd be thousands of flies, like thousands of these huge flies. And then the next day they'd all be dead. Just like everywhere, dead flies everywhere. And they wouldn't go towards my brother's room, but they would like be at the windows. And it was really weird. And there was also like, there was one time there was a bunch of these giant dragonflies that were up there and then died. But the most menacing part of the attic to me was that giant hole where the intercom system, because this is a long time ago, so the intercom system actually took up like a lot of space, where they had installed that. That place gave me the creeps. And then in my room, because in every room there was one of, besides my brother's room, there was one of those holes that connected the whole house, that connected to that hole. And that little wood panel used to freak me out, and I thought horrible things would happen if that panel came down. I think that's all about the attic, except for that bats actually lived in that hole, and we knew that. Or at least that's what my parents told me to keep me out of the hole. But I do remember we found bats occasionally, and I wasn't scared of the bats. I was scared out by the flies. I wasn't scared of the dragonflies the one time the dragonflies happened, but the flies, and that thing, the flies things would happen like the middle of winter. It was the weirdest thing. It was almost always the winter when the flies would happen. It was like once a month in the winter, during the winter months. So like 4 months. It was weird. But yeah, so I hated the attic, but I loved my brother's room. And to get to my brother's room, I had to go through the attic. Because my room was on the same floor as the attic. And so it creeped me out. And I would go to my brother's room and stuff that would happen in my room. Now, the things that would happen in my room, let's see. If I can remember everything. My room was very large. It had a built-in closet, 2 of them. It had 2 built-in closets, one on this side and then another on, like one on the left, and then there was the door frame, and then there was one on the right. And the one on the right also, it stopped, and then there was a built-in desk. And I always thought it was weird that they didn't just, this room was huge. They could have put a wall up, like, because my dad and my uncle were really good with that kind of thing. They could have put up like a wall and a door, and then my brother could have had his own room. It would have been really easy. We actually did it in a different house that we lived in, so. And then we could have each had 2 decently sized rooms, and no one would have to stay in the teeny tiny attic room. But I guess that was too much work. So, the built-in closets, for some reason, gave me a lot of anxiety. Whenever I get my clothes, I would feel like something was going to push me in. And my room itself felt fine. The room itself didn't really give me any bad, like, I'd play in there for hours, and I didn't really feel scared or anything. The stairs that led up to my room that were in the house also kind of had the feeling that something wanted to push you down, but not nearly as bad as the other stairs. Like the attic stairs, not nearly as bad as those. But yeah, so I would, like, in the morning when I get my clothes out of the closet and stuff, I do it extremely quickly, like so quickly. And they didn't have latches or anything, and the doors didn't quite, like, they had like magnets, and the magnets didn't quite line up, so sometimes they would just like open, and I was not a fan. So I had like a rolly chair for my little desk area, and at night I would push it up against, because one side was like drawers and the other side was like the closet thing. And the one magnets worked pretty good, but the one that didn't work, I would put my rolly chair in front of where the two doors opened in the middle, so it couldn't open at night. And I did that religiously. And one night I went to bed, and warning, okay? Gore warning. This is gonna get gory and such, okay? And remember, I'm in kindergarten at the time, okay? Just keeping that in mind. So I went to bed, and then I dreamed. And in my dream, I was laying in bed sleeping. And it was like I was watching myself. I was watching all this happen. I wasn't an active member in the dream. I was just a watcher. I could see myself sleeping on the bed. And I could see that I had forgot to put the rolly chair up against the closet door. And I could see the closet door slowly creaking open. And I, like me, the watcher, started screaming at me, this person sleeping, like, wake up, oh my gosh, we left the thing, wake up. And I couldn't wake up. And in the dream, this thing came out of the closet, and it looked almost like this black smoke. And it kind of looked like it had like a face and was wearing like a cloak, but it was like billowing smoke. And it like floated out of the closet, kind of like looked at me, and then went out the door, like out my bedroom door. And then I just heard screaming, like terrible screaming coming from the house. And then my dream self woke up, like I managed to wake up. And at this point, I didn't know I was dreaming anymore. I thought I had actually woken up. I did not actually wake up. So I woke up. I thought I was actually awake. Listen, this dream was so horrific that I still remember it in glaring detail to this day, okay? I woke up. I thought I was awake. I looked over. The closet door was open. So I was like, okay, I went over and closed the door. I was like, oh, it was just a stupid dream. I stepped out of my bedroom, and the walls were covered in blood. Just like covered in blood. And chunks of meat that looked kind of like hamburger meat, like everywhere. And like there on the floor, there was like piles of like guts and intestine and viscera. Just, I was like sick. Like I was like throwing up. I was freaked out. But I couldn't go back to my room for some reason. I needed to find people. So I started screaming for my mom and dad and my brother and my aunt and uncle. And I couldn't find anyone. All the rooms I went into, I did not go into the attic. I went into my aunt and uncle's room across the way. They weren't there. Again, the walls, everything covered in blood, piles of meat and viscera. I went down the stairs, everything, everywhere was like this. The only thing I ever found was in the living room. That at the time they had a schnauzer, wild hair terrier. It's a type of dog. They had one of those, and it was like the toy size. I don't know. It came up. It was like a foot tall, foot and a half tall. I don't know. And the dog was there, but the dog was like turned inside out, and it had an extra leg. And I remember this was really weird because its legs look like chicken drumsticks. And they had like the meat part here, and then they like ended in the bone, and it was like walking on the little bone tips, like if it was a drumstick, and had like no flesh on it. It wasn't turned inside out so much as it had no skin, so you could see all the muscles and stuff. And the one really weird thing was, I mean, this is all weird, but super weird detail that I always thought was really strange was it didn't have 4 legs, it had 5 legs. In between its 2 back legs, there was another like drumstick leg, but it was like upside down. So like the bone was like sticking into the dog, and like the drum meat part was what was walking, and it was weird. And after I saw that, I like screamed because this dog was like in pain and like twitching and whining, and I screamed, and then I woke up for real. And I sat there and I was like panting, and it was still nighttime, and I looked over and the closet door was open because I had forgot to shut it. So I really did actually forget to shut the stupid door. And to this day, I think that that was a dream that whatever was in that house gave me. Like, I don't think that was normal, because I had never seen anything like that. There was no way a kindergartner who had not seen anything like that could have imagined that kind of stuff. It was just like I got sick. I was so sick, and it was very traumatizing. And yeah, I started lashing the doors together with like rope and string and my little belts and stuff. But yeah, that closet never ceased to freak me out. That was the only time I ever forgot to shut that closet door. So granted to say, nothing in that house was nice. I woke up, there was still a dreadful feeling in the room, you know, like something was watching me in the dark from that closet. And that's when I called Charlie, our little guardian, you know, my guardian spirit for the family. And then when bad things happen and you feel like mean presences or something that's bad or dark, and you call on Charlie, it's almost like you feel, so you're sitting there in the dark with this oppressive force that's just malevolent and wanting to do you harm, and you can feel it like almost like a pressure on your lungs. But when you call Charlie, it's like this just wave of cool healing wind, like almost blows through, but it's like mental. You can't feel it physically with your body, but mentally it like washes through and just gives this peace and relief and just blows the horrible mean things away. So I knew that from the time I was a kid. My mom said, you know, like if anything bad ever happens and you feel like there's something bad in your room, just call Charlie. So I did, and I was able to get up and go shut the closet door, because I felt like it wasn't in the closet. I felt like it wasn't anywhere in the house anymore. I mean, it came back eventually, but it was gone for like a week or two after that incident. Like, I didn't feel weird after that, but heck, if I was going to take chances. And I rolled that rolly chair, that office chair, right up against that door. And after that, I got belts and all sorts of stuff, and I started lashing the closets together, the closet doors together, so they could not open no matter what, even if I forgot the stupid chair. I think that's probably the freakiest thing that ever happened in the house, like the thing that scared me the most. But there are plenty of other things that happen in that house. But this I was kind of setting up the place and everything like that and doing some background on it, so this one went a little long, so I'll tell you those stories next time. All right, everybody, what do you think about that dream? Isn't it terrifying? And yeah, it was just a dream, but I don't know, that doesn't seem normal. I've never had a dream like that since. I've had plenty of nightmares in my life, but I have never had one like that before or since. And I remember every single detail of that dream. I never forgot a single thing about it. It was like it was etched into my mind, and like it was purposely etched into my mind as some kind of warning. After that, I was terrified that if I didn't shut the door, everybody in the house would die. So, there you go. All right, everybody, remember, make room for your own passions. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.